Okay, hi everyone. Today we're going to be looking at fractions, and in particular, we're going to be using our fraction wall today to figure out what kind of fractions we're going to be dealing with, and we're also going to be looking at changing fractions around. All right, so first things first, here we're looking at our fraction wall that is going up in halves, quarters, eighths, and twelfths, and we've seen this fraction wall before, and you might remember the fraction wall that's inside in class hanging up as well that we often look at when we're doing our mental maths. So if you can remember back to that, we've kind of looked at a lot of this already and looking at equivalent fractions and things like that. So we might be okay for the most part, especially at the start of this chapter. So things will get a little bit trickier, but we'll take it slowly through this one, and we'll just kind of take it one little piece at a time. As Mr. Sutton used to say, how would you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. So we'll start off with looking at our first fraction one here. So we have our unit, which is our full piece. So again, that's our full piece of cake. If you're, again, as you know, I'm always talking about fractions in relations to cakes or pizzas or any circular foods or things like that. And then we've got half, which of course is two pieces of our cake. So if you take your cake and you cut it into two pieces, you've got two halves. We've got our quarters, and then we've got our eighths, and we've got our twelfths. And you'll notice there that as the number in the bottom gets bigger, the fraction gets smaller. All right, so a twelfth, if you were to be given a twelfth of a piece of cake, it's going to be a lot smaller than being given half of a piece of cake. All right, so that's just a bit of a recap there. We know all that already, but it's just a bit of a recap on what we've already done. So let's move on to the more kind of more difficult and tricky parts of this this chapter. So next up here, we are going to be looking at our fraction wall with our thirds, sixths, ninths, and twelfths in it. And we've got the questions, the first three questions that we're actually going to be doing for our work at home today. Okay, so it says in the question, now this is just bear in mind, this fraction wall up here is just slightly different, okay, to the one that we were looking at previously. The one we were looking at previously was halves, quarters, eighths, and I think we just went up to eighths. And then this one is thirds, sixths, ninths, and twelfths. Okay, so just bear in mind that you're going to have different fractions here that you're going to be dealing with. Now, the question part of this that we're looking at down here, it says, look at each pair of fractions and decide which fraction is bigger or if they are equivalent. Now, remember the word equivalent means equal, the same. All right, so if it's equivalent, it's the same. So remember, you can have two fractions that have different numbers, but they can be the same amount. So like I said previously, a half a cake can be the same as 2/4 of a cake. So if the cake was cut up into 4 pieces and you give someone 2 of those pieces, but then they're still getting half the cake. So again, use the fraction wall to help you there. So we've decided whether a third or 5/9 is bigger. Okay. So again, you can use the fraction wall in your book to help you out, but we'll look at the first one here. Okay. Now, so the first one here is our third up here. Okay. So I'll just draw a little bit of a box around that there. Okay. And we can see there that third, it goes out this far. Okay. So if you want to, a good idea might be to put a ruler up against the thirds in your book, and you'll see where it stops, and you'll be able to compare that then with where 5/9 stops. So we can get our 5/9. I'll use red for this. Okay. So again, we can put a box around it. So it's going to be going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/9. We can put a box around 5/9, and we can go all the way back there again. And again, 5/9, this is where that stops then. Okay. So from all of that there, you'll be able to see which is bigger. So which is bigger, a third or 5/9? Of course, yeah, you're right. I hope 5/9 was the bigger one. Okay, so 5/9 is greater. The red line is out further than the black line there. Okay. Okay, so I've gotten rid of our third and 5/9. We're going to look at our sixth and 2/3. All right. So if you were happy enough with the last one, you mightn't even need to see this, but just in case, we'll go through it just to make sure. So we've got 1/6 is what we're looking at down here. So we'll mark that first. All right. So we have 1/6 over here. So again, that's going to be this is going to be where we're drawing our line. So again, you can put a ruler up against it there and make it nice and clear. And 2/3 is our other one. All right. And again, we'll do that in blue maybe. So 2/3, we're going to go out past 1/3 and out to the end of 2/3 there. And that's that there. Okay. And again, you put your ruler up against that to see which is the greater. And I think it's fairly obvious there that the 2/3 is going to be much greater, isn't it? So it's going, the blue line is going out much further than the black. So our answer for B there is going to be that 2/3 is the bigger fraction. All right. So tip away of those today. I won't bother doing C there. I think it's clear enough there from A and B. But best look with those. And if there are any questions, be sure to let me know, and I'll be able to get back to you straight away. All right. So best look at those again, and I'll talk to you soon.